6:35, morning to you. Let's bring you up to date with what's making the front pages. We'll start with the Sunday Telegraph. Leads with Conservative lawyers saying the Rwanda deportation plan for illegal migrants is not fit for purpose.
And then the Sunday Times leads with COVID leaving Britain with a social divide that mirrors the two nations of Victorian times.
The Observer has David Lammy slamming Israeli death and destruction.
And the Sunday Express leads with Rishi Sunak's defiant challenge to Labour. Stop playing games.
Daily Star Sunday has AI chatbots having terrible pickup lines, apparently. Who are they trying to pick up?
I don't know what goes through the head of the people who edit the Star. It's very odd, isn't it?
Very
Stories
odd.
They go for.
Maybe they're AI. I don't know, it's very
that's
odd.
a thought.
Maybe they just want something different.
Well, they do.
I don't know. Anyway, look, taking us through our headlines today, radio and TV broadcasters, David Hamilton and Stephanie Tetchy. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Stephanie, we've got to start with a bit of Farage.
Oh, yeah, we need a bit of Farage. You know what, 3 weeks ago, if you asked me, will Nigel Farage be in the final for I'm a Celebrity, I would have been like, oh, but you're really cutting it fine. But clearly, he's appealed to the viewers at home. He's went through so many battles over the past 3 weeks. He's had arguments on Brexit, immigration, but I think the public have seen a different side to Nigel Farage. I think he's been, before he went on I'm a Celebrity, he was very much a very divisive character.
People didn't understand him, really, didn't they?
No, and I think people were just playing to the stereotypes. Oh, he's racist, he doesn't like immigrants. He actually, he was able to put forward his arguments pretty well on this show. So tonight we are going to be seeing a king of the jungle being crowned because Josie Gibson last night was evicted off the show, which means Nigel has to battle against Sam Thompson, who's from Made in Chelsea, and also Tony Bellew, the boxer.
Who's the clever money on, do you think?
I think it's going to be Sam Thompson. He's very happy-go-lucky. He's been quite animated over the past few weeks, so I do think it will be between him and Nigel who will be the final two standing.
I'm like you, actually. I don't watch it. It's past my bedtime.
Yes.
But I have been watching the highlights on GBNEWS, and I must say that Adam, the reporter, has been absolutely fantastic. I thought his reports have been brilliant. He's so good, you should give him his own show.
Give over.
Get it.
What I find very interesting is this, that Nigel was obviously not going to go early, was he? Because they're paying him £1.5 million. So with an investment like that, he's not going to go early. But the thing about Nigel is that he's Marmite. People either love him or hate him. So whereas a lot of people will vote for him, there are also a lot of people who, on principle, won't vote for him. What I think is going to be very interesting is what he does when he comes back to the UK, when this is over. Watch his next move.
Yeah, but it's interesting, in terms of the whole Marmite thing, the point of this is people get to understand him a bit better.
Yes.
And it's how many minds change. Because people... it's a bit like GB News. People judge it without watching it. And it's the same with Nigel. People judge him without ever listening to it.
Well, I think what Stephanie said is right. He's come over very well. And I've met Nigel, as we all have. And basically, he's actually a really nice guy. You know, people have conceptions of him which are probably not true. But I think his next move after this will be very interesting indeed.
So, do they all have to do some sort of a horrible Bush Tucker trial again tonight?
Is going to be the worst Bush Tucker trials. It's going to be eating some
And they all
more.
have to do it?
They all have to do it for the final, especially the final two, and they're going to be eating some horrible delicacies. Usually they eat horribles, but for the final, they really push it.
So what? So they cut... Someone will drop out...
Just one person will leave, and then there'll be the final two, and then they will have to do another Bush Tucker trial, and then the audience at home will vote to see who will be the king.
It's a long process
It's going to be an extra special show tonight. I think it's going to be an hour and a half long. So they're really going to be put through their paces.
So is that live, then?
Yep, it's going to be live.
So the vote is live?
Yeah, and the vote's only, like, literally, I think you've only got about 10 minutes to vote. But the thing is, as well, I feel like there's a bit of a political edge to this final because Nigel Farage clearly has support from Reform, who've been emailing their members to say that they must vote and go against the establishment.
Right. Well,
of course, there's...
Fair enough. Not that we've
GBNEWS viewers will be voting in their hordes, so that
well, I hope so.
That could well swing it.
Well, we'll see, because we want him back, because according to the Daily Mail, he's going to be offered a seat in the Lords and a big ministerial job in some sort of a dream ticket package to ensure that the Tories don't lose the next election. It's in the Daily Mail, and you've been looking at that.
It is indeed, yes, and maybe this could be his next move. The headline is Tory MPs in dramatic plot to bring back Boris in the only way to invert wipeout at election. And the dream team is that it could be Boris with Nigel Farage as his number 2. And, you know, this kind of sounds... It smacks of desperation, doesn't it?
Very much so.
I can never remember a political party that has imploded in the way that the Tories have.
But it's pie in the sky. It's pie in the sky. There's no way that reform would do that, is there?
I think the problem is that a vote for reform is a vote for Labour, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, yes, ultimately.
That is going to be the danger. So if you bring Nigel over to your team, that's probably the thinking. You get your enemy close to you. I mean, he has been the worst news, really, for the Tory party of anybody, hasn't he? He's been their biggest adversary, not Labour.
But there'd be quite a lot of anger, wouldn't there? There's already been... I know it's happened many times in the past, but there was already Labour making a fuss about David Cameron being made a Lord and then a minister, and if they did it with a couple of other people, there'd be all hell let loose.
I think it will be, because they know that these people present a threat to them, to be honest. And I think it's one of those ones with Labour, like, Labour's had a clear chance to kind of establish themselves as a party in the waiting, and it just hasn't landed the way it should do. So the Conservatives and Reform, they now have a chance to really shine. But back to Boris, I don't understand what the obsession is with Boris Johnson and the Conservatives, because it almost feels like they want to go back to a toxic lover who's got us in the mess in the first place. And I just don't see how it works with Boris.
Well, he's the last...
Marmite.
Marmite, but there are a lot of people who would love to see him back. They would see it as exciting. Certainly this deal would be lots to talk about, wouldn't it?
But I feel sorry for Rishi, though. Like, he's only been in the position over a year, and he's had to pick up a lot of people's mess, and people are just saying he's ineffective as a leader.
He works very, very hard, does Rishi. I think the problem he's got are communication skills.
Has any party had as many prime ministers in a certainly not in a shorter time as they have?
No, it's an absolute record.
But to change again at this stage now...
It's more upheaval.
Absolute madness.
It is madness.
But they've got to do something, haven't they, to excite the electorate?
Should we have something to smile about a little bit? Stephanie, in the Sunday Telegraph this morning, Royal Christmas cards, have you had yours yet?
Not yet, I'm still waiting. I know it's in the post, though, but I love Christmas cards because I think they tell a lot about someone's personality. As we're seeing with the whales on the front of the Telegraph, they've gone for a very modern and slick look, which is very Vogue, and it was shot by... It is very Vogue, and it's lovely to see how the children are looking very mature and coming into their own.
Have we got a shot of it there? Yeah, it's a shame because we've cut off Charlotte's legs.
Yeah.
And if you look at the real picture, the full picture as it is here in the Mail on Sunday, you see that Charlotte...
You think she...
Charlotte looks like a supermodel, and she is 8 years old.
Fabulous.
Look at her.
She looks about 13.
She does.
The camera adores her, doesn't it? But the way she's sitting there, so relaxed. I mean, she looks like a supermodel.
They look like...
Just sat down and said, yes, all right, take a picture.
They look like the picture-perfect family in that picture. This is a stark contrast to what the King and Queen have put out, because on their card, they're looking very flamboyant in their coronation regalia. So it's quite nice to see the kind of contrast between the two.
Yes, I mean, that's sort of more traditional, isn't it? Yeah. I suppose in the year of their coronation, you would want to see the coronation photograph, so yes.
So it'll be interesting, because one day, obviously, Catherine and Will be king and queen, so it'll be interesting to see what their cards will be looking like in the future.
Yeah, but I think it's a nice little mix between the two, and I think it's quite right that the king and queen have gone very formal.
Regal and formal,
I don't want to be controversial, but...
Oh, here we go.
But I think Kate here looks a bit like Meghan.
Oh, no, you mustn't say that out loud. Don't even think it.
Why do you say that?
Have a look. No. I've never thought it before, but I thought she looks like a more glamorous version of Meghan. It's the hair. Is it the hair, isn't it? The longer hair.
Oh,
Prince George,
David.
Prince George looks absolutely...
Well, yes, he looks...
as well.
Yeah.
He's very relaxed. He's got one hand in the pocket, you know, and...
To be fair, they've all been told how to pose.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, because that's what happens, isn't it?
It's cool, though. They've chosen that photograph.
It's nice.
They must have had so many others, and they've obviously decided
much training.
That's us.
And they've probably had to take so much
That's the future royal
pictures.
family.
They're just photogenic now.
Yeah. No, it's lovely. It's a lovely picture. Look, it is 9... No, it's not. It's 6:46. What's going on with my brain at the minute? This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne. Let's just remind you of the top stories.
Well, a top team of Tory lawyers deemed the Rwanda deportation plan is insufficiently watertight. And that, of course, endangers the crucial parliamentary vote next week. The
sole survivor of a Second World War plane crash is with Bomber Command. He's honoured the crew he served with, who weren't as lucky as he was. He was talking to our East Midlands reporter. It's a 101-year-old veteran, Eddie Hume.
It's sad because of the memories it brings back, knowing that the names of my crew are here, but the crew are not.
Later on in the programme, the Met Police will be calling on Just Stop Oil to work with them instead of against them, after it was revealed that their various protests have cost the force £20 million. But is it feasible, they think?
And after 3 weeks in the jungle, Nigel Farage has made it to the final of I'm a Celebrity. OK, David Hamilton, Stephanie Tetchy still here taking us through the papers. Let's talk, David, about... this is in the Sunday Telegraph. The Rwanda legislation not watertight, not hard enough, according to a group of lawyers who work for a far-right section of the Conservative Party who already don't think it's watertight.
Yeah, this is called a star chamber.
It's a bit tainted, though, isn't it?
Conservative lawyers. They've concluded that Rishi Sunak's Rwanda deportation plans are not fit for purpose. That's the quote. The panel, whose advice was awaited by many MPs to the right of the party, has decided that the legislation is insufficiently watertight to avoid protracted legal challenges, to avoid illegal immigrants seeking to return to the UK. And that is the problem, isn't it? I mean, you know, the problem is that people can say, this is hardship, this affects my mental health, or whatever, I can't go. What's going to happen here is that lawyers are going to make an awful lot of money, which presumably we taxpayers will have to pay for, and it'll probably wind up with nobody going to Rwanda.
Except, I mean, what you have to bear in mind with this is the Star Chamber represents people who already think it isn't going to work. So they've sort of come up with the answer you would expect. The guy who's already said, working for the government, who's already said that there's only a 50% chance of this getting through, did say he thought it was sufficient that people wouldn't be able to appeal the decisions. So I don't know if I quite believe this or not.
Except that you've got lawyers arguing with each other, and it's just what you said. We're going to be paying for them to endlessly quibble. And this Star Chamber, yes, they are they've already got a vested interest in it not working. But if they're lawyers and they're already pointing out that there are holes in the whole plan, then more lawyers are going to join in.
I think we've got a wider problem, and the wider problem is that millions of people around the world are relocating. And we have the problem here, but also countries like Germany and France have the same problem, but they are much bigger countries. The problem with this country is that this is a very small, overcrowded island. Already people can't get to see doctors, there aren't enough hospitals, and there are millions of people coming in here, most of them men, so you have a very unbalanced population of lots of men and not so many women. What are young men going to do? What do young men need? They need jobs, they need money, and they need women. And, you know, we've all been there, you know, this is a problem. And so Rwanda is there as a deterrent to stop people coming here and for people to say, OK, if you come here, you're going to finish up in Rwanda. And you know, if no one goes there, then that deterrent doesn't work. No, and it's costing an awful lot of money, and at the end of the day, it's not going to affect many people anyway. How many people possibly would go to Rwanda?
Well, yeah, but that's, as we said, it's a deterrent effect, isn't it? It sort of doesn't matter in a way how many people go.
But Mark White was interviewing people in Calais the other day, wasn't he? And they said it's not a deterrent, it's not going to put us off at all, because they don't believe it's ever going to happen.
Because it's not, I mean, so it'd be different if it did happen.
And it does feel like a little too late, because I think all these gangs, they've got this infrastructure which is already well in place as a slick oil production, and I just think destroying that is going to be where I think Rishi should be focusing on. I think there's so much focus on Rwanda that I think, what is the plan B if Rwanda doesn't go ahead?
It doesn't seem to be a plan B.
There doesn't seem to be. I mean, part of the issue with this, David, is it's been deemed, you know, against human rights. It's been effectively deemed illegal.
Yeah.
So even if we can get round it, does that make it morally right?
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
No.
You know, I can't answer that, whether
none of
it's
us do.
morally right or not.
No.
But, I mean, we are desperate, aren't we, to try and keep down the number of people who are coming here illegally, and the numbers just mount up.
And we've paid so much money already.
They increase every year.
And I can't help thinking, is that why Rishi is so stubbornly still trying to stick to this? Because he's spent so much money on it already. He has to save face.
I don't think it's the money. I don't really.
I
think if he pulled out of this now, then the entire Tory party would turn against him pretty much.
Yes.
As well as the Tory party members.
I think the problem is almost insoluble, and when I hear the news on television, I hold my head in my hands and I think, I just feel desperately depressed about the whole thing.
And it's not a quick fix solution, because I think even if these flights do take off, it's not going to be like a year, everything's going to turn around. I think this is something that's going to probably be going on for the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. On the positive side, although the legal migration figures are really high at the moment, the experts say that should halve sort of on its own, because it's all linked to students and things. And apparently there's a natural ebb and flow with that, so it should drop. But even when David Cameron was saying, when he was PM, we need to get this down into the tens of thousands, even then it was only 200,000. So we're almost 4 times that figure anyway. I mean, it's all very, very hard.
Let's talk more about the King.
Yes.
And he has appointed a particular sort of doctor to lead the royal family's medical team.
Yes, and he's appointed a homeopathy advocate, and his name is Dr. Michael Dixon. Any relation to you, Stephen?
Uncle Michael.
No.
And he is going to be head of the royal medical household. And I think what's quite interesting about this is because there's always been this kind of controversy when it surrounds like homeopathy. People always view it as placebos, and there's not really a science to it. I love stuff like that. I think there's so much investment that could go into that area, and there is some of its strategies and medicines that do work. But
and Charles has always been a fan of homeopaths, hasn't he? Are you into homeopathy?
I don't know much about it at all, but I see in the newspaper, it's in the Times today, front page of the Times, that it includes thought field therapy and wart charming.
Wart charming?
Yes. So if you've got any warts,
charm them.
I'm sure they're charming warts.
Well, look, I mean, this guy's also a GP.
Yeah.
So he's also a traditional
So
doctor.
He's mixing a bit of the science with the natural stuff, and I think there's such a big market for it at the moment. I'm not surprised that the royals will be dabbling with this as well. You have to be kind of open to all these different avenues of medical research and help.
I don't think there's anything wrong with alternative medicine, so long as that doesn't mean you shun what we know works.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I'm sceptical of homeopathy.
I tell you what,
to be honest.
I'm having trouble getting an appointment with my GP at the moment. I want one. So I popped in to the medical centre yesterday to ask for an appointment, and there's a big notice up saying, you know, they're closed at the moment, open tomorrow, but they've just opened up a private GP practice.
Oh,
yeah.
In the same place.
Yeah.
Well, that's
what
interesting.
So if you've got enough money, you
can pay for the same service.
Isn't that astonishing? And would they be the same doctors?
Yes, probably.
They probably would.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are working privately.
Is that happening where you are? I'll bet it's propping up all over the place.
But I think people do want to invest in private healthcare now because they know they can't get appointments. They know they have to wait so long.
But wouldn't it be rubbish if you can't get an appointment with your NHS GP and you find that you can get an appointment with the same doctor?
If you pay.
It might be to
I don't agree with that.
Though. It could be to the NHS's detriment in that sense.
Could well be. Look, David, Stephanie, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Let's get...